The Pitstop boys have gotten themselves into trouble with the F1 community. It's plastered all over my Twitter. The video of them on Screaming Meals podcast. If you don't know what Screaming Meals podcast is, it's a podcast hosted by Marcus Armstrong, former F2 driver and IndyCar driver, Clement Novalak, current F2 driver, and James Harvey Blair, who is a friend of theirs and their insurance broker also. I'd recommend checking it out if you haven't already. But basically, they went on that podcast and it got pretty hairy. The main video that's going around is a video of Fab trying to say to the lads that no one gives a fuck about their racing, basically, and that most of their fans just want to see vlog content. And he's telling Marcus to film himself on a night out and that people would rather see that than racing, right? First of all, it's not true, in my opinion. Doesn't make sense. Foolish opinion. They had some drinks going, etc., etc. My take on the Pitstop guys overall is it's not their fault that people like them, right? And they're just playing to the crowd now, I think, because F1 is not that hard of a sport to learn, right? They came in, right? And it was great when they came in. I found them quite annoying, I must say, but they were engaging and they were funny, and they were coming into the sport at the same time that I would say millions of other fans were coming into the sport. And it was great for those fans who didn't know the sport yet to have content creators who also didn't know the sport and were learning along with them. And I think the difference between watching hardcore fan content and watching something like their podcast is they will ask the questions that would seem too obvious to a hardcore fan kind of thing. So I think it's good. It was good, right? For the first couple of months, you can learn along with them, right? And the thing is, for me, F1 is... On Screaming Meals, Jake in particular was talking about how intense F1 is and how it's so hard to keep up with everything. Look, this might sound rich coming from a hardcore F1 fan, but it's not that difficult. It's actually not that difficult if you just actually follow the sport to learn, right? So I don't believe that two guys who are doing this as a full-time job, right? This is their income now. I don't believe that two guys are doing this as a full-time job haven't figured it out in over a year, where they've been to multiple races, interviewed multiple drivers, mechanics, journalists, engineers, loads of people who are involved in the sport. I do not buy that they still can't figure it out, right? So they're obviously playing dumb, and they're acting like they're proud of how dumb they are with the sport. For example, I mean, when Juan Manuel Correa came in and they were like so excited to tell him that they didn't know who he was, and I found it very cringy. He was bewildered. He was saying, and not in an egotistical way, he was just saying, I mean, you run an F1 podcast. It's your full-time job. It's your job to know these things, and you would assume that you'd be a fan of the sport. They come across like they actually don't care about the sport either, right? Which is take it or leave it. Main point is, it's not their fault that people like them and they're playing to the crowd now, because it's what's gotten them where they are. And there's two sides. I think they don't actually care about the sport enough to go and really dive into it. And I think that they're playing to their audience, right? So I understand content creators and even just people in general getting angry on behalf of other content creators who, let's say, are more hardcore, put more effort into researching videos, researching interviews and stuff. And I do think that their success has come from a place of privilege, of being men, because if it was two women who started this podcast, they would have stopped now because of the abuse that they would have gotten for not knowing things, right? So it's totally a double standard from people, I think. if two women came along and started a podcast and didn't have a clue what was going on, everyone would be absolutely slating them, right? And I've seen people say this a lot on Twitter, and I totally agree with it, that it isn't fair. And I don't know why people go on their podcast who are really interesting figures in Formula One. And maybe it's because nobody else asks them. But they've had Callum Nicholas and they've had Mikey Brown recently, Fernando Alonso's number one mechanic, who are incredibly interesting guests. They've had Oscar Piastri on as well. I don't understand why these people want to go on those podcasts, and maybe they don't, and maybe it's PR teams, but there's definitely better podcasts out there, and I feel like it's going to run dry for them if they don't update what they're doing with their podcast, because the fans that have come in with them, let's say a year and a half ago, or whenever it was that they were coming in, those fans must be gone past their content now if they're any way paying attention to Formula One. If you watch qualifying and the race, if you even watch the race somewhat closely, you would know more than they know, or pretend to know, or pretend to not know. So I feel like that cycle of people will be gone, and I don't think that'll be the first place that they go, new fans that are coming in now to Pitstop, because I feel like it would have had charm if you were learning together, but now they've been in for a while and it seems like they would be established, knowledgeable content creators, and they're not, right? Which is fine, let them do what they want. It's my overarching theme. Let them do what they want. It's working for them at the moment. They're also very annoying, very privileged, and very annoying. Yeah, I know I said that. But look, fair play to them. Again, it's not their fault. So I don't know if this is going to be the downfall of Pitstop Podcast. Their podcast has gone from a 4.9 out of 5 rating on Spotify to a 3.6. And it's going down pretty rapidly. So I imagine even when I'm finished this video, it'll be gone more, because everyone's giving it 1 star. Look, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how much this is going to actually impact them, or how much of this they're seeing. They must be seeing it, but I don't know if they're going to make an apology video or something like that. It doesn't really seem their style. They seem like the kind of guys to go, oh, fuck it, and just plow on. So we'll see what happens, but I don't know if I'll keep across it, to be honest. It's kind of not the kind of thing I'm too interested in. But anyway, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.